Hello guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Elias Pettersson if his lofty expectations are just a little bit too high. Now, Elias Pettersson is one of the best forward prospects in the game, if not one of the best prospects in the game. He's done a great job since he's been drafted of really rising that stock with Vancouver Canucks. Now, the Vancouver Canucks prospect at age 19 was drafted 5th overall in the 2017 NHL draft, and since then, he's done everything. Being dominant in the SHL, being dominant in the World Junior Championships, and of course, rising that stock with Vancouver Canucks. This past season, it was just unbelievable what he was able to do in the SHL. He was just a dominant player. 44 games played, 24 goals, 32 assists for 56 points. That was first in the entire SHL, and you gotta remember players are in their 20s, 30s, and he was an 18-year-old playing and dominating against all these players offensively. 1.27 points per game, which above players above 30 games played was ranked among first, so he was obviously dominant every single game as well. In the World Junior Championships, we definitely saw that continue. In the World Junior Championships with Sweden, he was again dominant like the SHL. He played 7 games, had 5 goals, 2 assists for 7 points. Points per game in the World Junior Championships is very, very good, and he was able to accomplish that pretty easily. In the World Championships with Sweden, he played 5 games, had 1 goal, 2 assists for 3 points, which is also very impressive for an 18-year-old going against much harder competition. Now, of course, he dominated the SHL, dominated the World Junior Championships, and it was very, very solid in the World Championships. So to have that hype, it was definitely expected, and he had an amazing season this past season, so I won't put that against him. He really was incredible in improving his game overall and offensively. He was just a beast. So with that, he's going to have massive expectations to make that NHL jump and to make it pretty easily. The Vancouver Canucks made some depth signings this past offseason, guys like Antoine Roussel, Jay Beagle, which were not great contracts, let's be honest here, but they did make some depth moves in the offseason, so it will be a little bit harder for Elias Pettersson to stand out. It will be a little bit harder for him to make the team out of training camp, so there will be more competition than we thought last season. Now, of course, next hockey season, the 2018-2019 season, he's expected to make that NHL team, and he's expected to make that serious NHL impact on day one, which is going to be harder than some people might think. For Elias Pettersson, he definitely has that talent, but it will be some hurdles that he'll have to jump over. One, while he did dominate the SHL, I will not put that against him. It is a little bit harder for players from Europe and those European leagues to transition to the NHL in my eyes than it is if he was dominating in, let's say, the CHL, if he was dominating, let's say, the NCAA. Those leagues are a little bit better, I'd say, comparatively towards the NHL than the SHL, than the Liga, those European leagues. So I feel like it'll be a little bit harder transition than some people might think. Of course, he was purely dominant in the SHL, and I will not put that against him. He was amazing, and I think that he definitely showed that talent level in that league, and he was obviously dominant against a lot of adults. So I will not give him the benefit of the doubt. I feel like he definitely has shown that talent, but I feel like there will be some hurdles. There will be some kind of slow starts with Elias Pettersson, at least if he makes a team and makes it at the start of the season. I think a lot of it, at least on the 5-on-5 play, will definitely depend on who he plays with. If he plays with Besser and Horvat on that first line, that line will be absolutely explosive, and I'd love to see that in lines in Vancouver Canucks games. That line will be fantastic. It will be lots of speed and lots of skill. But if he doesn't play on that line, let's say he plays on a different line with less talented players, I feel like it'll be a little bit more of a struggle because, let's not be honest, the Vancouver Canucks aren't the best offensive team. Either way, if he makes a team, it's pretty much a for sure thing that he'll get power play time, which is what he specialized in the SHL and what he was amazing at in really his short career, in his youth career. So I feel like he's definitely going to be great in that aspect, the power play. I think he'll look smooth as ever. I don't think there was going to be really much of a transition there because he's already been so accustomed to that. So I think he'll be fine there, but the 5-on-5 might be a little bit of a struggle, especially if he does not play with the Besser and Horvat line. Now, I know a lot of people say that his size is a problem, and I do think that it might hurt him a little bit, at least on the 5-on-5 play. I don't know if it'll affect him that much. It might be a little bit of a thing, and he might have a slower start compared to some other players because of his slow size, because of his shorter size, but I do think that he's still a great player, and I don't think size matters as much as it did 10, 20 years ago, so I think he'll still be pretty fine. I think that it might be a little bit of a factor, but not crazy much. Now, I do see him scoring a lot. Well, it'll really depend on the rookie class, how good is the Calder race for him to really be in that competition, but I do see him scoring a lot, especially on the power play. I think he'll definitely specialize in that, and that's where most of his points will come from. Now, this is a little bit of a bold take, but I do see Elias Pettersson being really, really slow at the start. I feel like there'll be some growing pains for him transitioning to the NHL. I don't think that we'll see quite that Elias Pettersson that we expect him to be on day one in those first few games. It might be somewhat of a Nolan Patrick situation where he's pretty meh in the first half, but then he starts getting going in the second half. I still think that Elias Pettersson will be better in his first year than Nolan Patrick, but I do see the slow start potentially being there. But by the end of the season, when he becomes more accustomed to NHL ice, when he becomes more accustomed to the physicality of NHL, I feel like he'll definitely have a great second half, and I feel like at that point, he'll be scoring goals and scoring points pretty much every single game. Now, while I do expect Elias Pettersson to be a contender for that Calder Trophy, as I mentioned right then, I do think that he'll have a slow start, and I do think he'll pick it up in the second half, but I don't know if it'll be enough to get in that Calder race. The Calder race this season is looking absolutely stacked. There's a ton of rookies that could be in that class, so really it could go a lot of different ways, but for me, I feel like it won't be enough for him to really be in that class, because I think it's just going to be dominant this season. But again, there's a little bit of a problem here, because a lot of Vancouver Canucks fans, a lot of fans of just the NHL in general, really do expect him to be in that Calder race, really do expect him to be that impact player on day one, and I don't really think if he can really transition to there quite yet. I do feel like it'll be a somewhat smooth first year, but I don't know if it'll be as good as people do expect. I do expect him to get a lot of points, especially in the power play. I think that'll continue throughout the whole year, but I do expect a slow start from him, and I do expect somewhat of a transition problem from him going to the NHL from the SHL. But by the end of the year, I do see his points being up there. I do predict 55 to 60 points from him. I feel like that's about where he'll be, but I feel like the line for that Calder race can be 70 points, 80 points, maybe even 85 points. This next rookie class is looking to be fantastic, and there are going to be some guys that break out of nowhere. I just feel like Elias Pettersson, while he'll still be up there, by the time the season ends, I just don't think he'll be enough. So this next season, he's going to get a lot of attention. He's going to get a lot of hype, both from the fans, the NHL, and the Vancouver media. He's really going to be the spotlight for the Vancouver Canucks, and being one of their bright spots next season when he hopefully makes the NHL. So I feel like he will be a little bit overhyped here. I don't see him being in that Calder race. I don't see him winning it at all, but I do see him still being there, but I don't think he'll be as high as people really do expect. And yes, by that, on paper, he is a little bit overhyped in my opinion for that rookie year. I do still believe that he has serious potential to become a star in the NHL. Remember, he is one of the best prospects in the NHL, if not one of the best forward prospects in the NHL, and I feel like he still has that serious potential to become that at least first-line center or first-line right-winger for the Vancouver Canucks. He dominated in the SHL, he dominated in the World Junior Championships, and I feel like what we've seen so far has just been so brilliant, and I feel like the potential is definitely there for Elias Pettersson. I think like it might take a couple of years for him to develop in that star and for him to really get that recognition, but I feel like in 5 years or so, I feel like he'll be the star and the next super Swede of Sweden. So for me, I'm going to lower my expectations just a little bit for Elias Pettersson than some other people. I don't see him being in the Calder race like some other people. I don't see him being that fantastic player year one as a lot of people do. I still see that slow start coming from him, as it might take a little bit for him to transition into the NHL player that a lot of people expect him to be. So of course, the title is, are the expectations too high for Elias Pettersson? I feel like this next season, in his rookie year, they will be. I feel like the expectations will be to be in that Calder race, to be one of the best rookies, and I feel like it might take maybe a year or two for him to really develop into the stud prospect and the stud player that a lot of people expect him to be, and also I expect him to be. But for his potential, I do see him becoming a star. I do see him being that guy in 5 years, but I do see him being a little bit more of a slower developer than some other players, which is not necessarily bad, but I do see Vancouver being really good after that, because Elias Pettersson is going to be fantastic and is going to be their first-line center of the future. I firmly believe that, as a lot of other people do as well. So again, don't get me wrong, I do really like Elias Pettersson. I just have a little bit of skepticism for his rookie year, but I do expect him to be on his game that second year, do really improve in that third year. By the time like maybe the Olympics come up, he's gonna be so fun to watch. So I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about Elias Pettersson? What do you think about my take in this video? What do you think about his potential, and what do you think about his potential rookie year with the Vancouver Canucks? So that's going up for today, guys. If you guys enjoyed, make sure you like and subscribe. Again, I want to hear from you. What do you think about Elias Pettersson, his potential, and his rookie year coming up? And I'll see you guys later. Goodbye.